Hello, I hope everyone's doing okay and you've had a decent week. Today, I am literally just going to jump straight in, both feet, 2 feet first, and I'm going to talk about the meeting that I had at the Sheffield Teaching Hospital, at the specialist rehab unit. As I already said, that I had that meeting coming up, and I was going to be assessed for the FES, the FES machine. The meeting was absolutely fantastic. I'm going to be honest with you. It went really, really well. Um, Basically, we started out the meeting having a conversation, talking about um, effectively the sort of things that I have going on, the issues that the MS causes. And to be fair, they just sat, listened. I explained the sort of things that I have got in terms of issues. It was all written down. We had a conversation about when I'd tried the FES at my local hospital with my physio, um, and how well it went. When I was explaining my foot drop, um, because physio came out to collect me from the waiting room, and it was very much a case of naturally she walked behind me to monitor and see how I was walking. And yeah, my foot was dragging as bad as it always does. It was really quite bad. And when we got in there, as I say, we had this conversation, and to me, it felt like maybe they were thinking that actually the FES probably wouldn't do a job. Well, I explained that when I'd tried it at my local hospital, it was incredible, and I hadn't walked in that manner for, well, I can't explain how long. It was such a long time, unbelievable. But I explained it to them, and they said, "Well, we'll put it on. Let's have a look and see how it goes." That's what happened. The FES, the FES was put on, um, and I stood up, did a couple of walks with it turned off, and then it got turned on. And when it got turned on, again, the walking was incredible. It was just so different. I mean, you could say it was night and day. That doesn't do it the justice that it needs, because the change is so significant that it's almost like it's a different person actually walking. It's a different pair of legs, because normally my foot drop, my right foot will drag so badly that at times it's probably about 3 counties behind me before we actually get anywhere. Um, but with the machine on, my walking was very comfortable. The foot drop, when the machine was turned up to a certain level, we got it to level 50. Um, when it got to that level, there was no foot drop, and I mean there was none. Don't get me wrong, the one thing that will never happen is a cure for the foot drop. But as I'm walking, it was very much a case of actually I was walking quite comfortably, still using both my sticks, um, but I was slashing my times because obviously I was being timed initially before it was turned on to see how I did that walking distance. It's only a very short distance, um, but I was slashing my times by using the machine, and I felt so much more comfortable. It was ridiculous how comfortable I actually felt using it. But it was also very much surprising. They asked if they could video me walking, um, and I've signed a release to give permission should they want to use that footage of me walking with and without the machine. And apparently it could be sent anywhere in the NHS, um, potentially even medical journals or things like that. I signed it in a heartbeat. I've, honestly, I had no interest in saying no to that at all. It was always going to be a yes, because let's be honest, everything's out there in the world anyway, on my social media accounts, this podcast. It's there for everyone to see. There's nothing to hide. If it's going to help, let's get it out there for people to have a look at. It just makes sense. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the actual meeting itself, the assessment, it was brilliant. Must have been in there for over an hour and a half. And again, I mean, there was no pressure to be quick with the things I'm talking about. There was no pressure from them to get me in and out. It was very much a case of it takes as long as it takes. The conversations are what they are. There was, I mean, it was good. It was really genuinely very good. I can't compliment them higher. I'll be honest with you. I really can't. They were fantastic with me. They're very patient. Obviously trained me how to use the FES, which is a good thing. It's very much a good thing. So I knew what I was doing the following morning when I was putting it on. Or did I? Yeah, this is me. I forget stuff. I can't help that. But actually, no, I did okay. It takes me a little bit longer, but we'll come to that. We'll get there. But yeah, no, very much a case of they explained how it all works. They explained what the purpose of the assessment meeting, whatever you want to call it, was, and said to me that in 2 weeks' time, I can go back. Well, I've got an appointment to go back, so they can see how I'm coping with the FES. They can speak to me and see how I think things are going. We are going to get to that, because that's actually, from my point of view, quite an exciting conversation. But yeah, I mean, so that's booked in 2 weeks' time. Go back to Sheffield, have this meeting, and then it should be a good thing. Now we're going to explain how things have been and what's likely to happen at this next meeting. Because let's be honest, I have been using the FES, and to say it's incredible would be a humongous understatement. I mean, it wouldn't do it justice. I mean, it literally is a case of I feel so confident using it. I feel confident walking. Now, the one thing I've got to make clear, using the FES does not mean I'm ever going to walk further than I'm currently capable when I'm not using it. That's not what it's there for. It's not what it's designed to do. That's not even a consideration. It's never going to cure the foot drop. But when I'm wearing the machine, when it's turned on, at that point, it reminds the nerves in my leg what they're supposed to be doing, and it pulls the front of my foot up, so I'm walking comfortably and safely. Because I've said it previously, my walking was getting to the point actually it was kind of dangerous. It wasn't nice. It must have been quite difficult for people to see, as well as for me to actually cope with. Now, what I have to point out is the first outing I had with it. I had a meeting to go to, went to that meeting, and then I went into town. I needed to go and grab some bits from the supermarket. took my mobility scooter, went to the meeting, went to the supermarket, parked up my scooter, and turned my FES on, and took one stick with me because I needed to carry a basket. I couldn't take 2 sticks. That's just not going to happen while I'm carrying a basket. Let's be fair. But it was really quite, I'm going to say, comfortable. And it was very much a case of I felt confident walking. And while I was grabbing the bits and pieces, I bumped into a couple of friends from work when I was working. And I had a chat with them. And we started walking to the till together. Now, the one thing I've not been able to do for quite a long time is actually keep up with people. I was keeping up with them absolutely perfectly, step for step. And I'm going to be honest with you, the level of pride that I actually felt, the contentment, all sorts, was just, it was different class. It was genuinely different class. I mean, I can't explain how actually it made me feel, because the emotions were just all over the place. I mean, it was, I'm going to say surprising. That's probably the only word that comes to mind that I can use. But yeah, it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. We took a family trip just yesterday on Saturday to Norwich to have a little look round to see if maybe that's a better prospect for our potential move than Plymouth. Now, I did use my wheelchair quite a bit. And the one thing I'm trying to do when I'm using my wheelchair, I'm really trying to hand wheel it myself. You know, I want to be sat down. I've bought myself some fingerless gloves that's got the padding on the hands and all sorts to try and make it a bit more comfortable. So I did quite a bit of that. I'm going to be honest with you. There was quite a bit of me hand wheeling. But when I was getting up to walk around, again, I'm using the FES. It was just so good. It really was. I mean, again, I did overdo it. I'm going to say that while I was there, I did overdo it. I was walking around way too much. And yeah, it hurt me quite a bit. But I couldn't stop myself. It was so exciting to be able to just walk around and not have to think, right, am I going to trip over in 5 minutes? Right, how do I need to adjust my walking? Because for the longest time now, I've had to adjust my walking to make sure I don't fall over. I've had to adjust it so that I'm comfortable and feel safe. Not with this thing, not with this FES on, not at all. It is such a, I'm going to use the term, going forward, this could be a bit of a life changer. It really could be a bit of a life changer. Because one, the confidence it's given me to get up and walk. Yes, again, I will say I can't walk any further than I previously did. That's fine. Not a problem. But the confidence just in myself to think my foot's not dragging. I don't feel like I'm going to fall over. Do you know what? I feel like me. I feel like the person I was. And again, that's a personal experience for myself. Other people may feel something slightly different. But for me, the way this thing makes me feel when I'm using it, it's just incredible. It really, really is. And when I'm walking around, yeah, there's been a couple of occasions actually I've had to turn it up a little bit because I've walked too much and the tiredness is kicked back in my leg, and I'm thinking, foot's starting to feel a bit draggy, turn it up, and voila, it works. So yeah, that's very much where I've been as regards. And when I go back for this this meeting in 2 weeks. My personal choice is very much welcome to my life, FES. It's a pleasure to know you're going to become my best friend, because genuinely, it's just such a different animal. It really is. It's everything I hoped it was going to be. And yeah, that I know that probably sounds like I'm sort of getting overexcited, maybe. Well, I am, and I make no apologies for it. I am overexcited. I'm confident. I'm happy, and I feel like I'm capable of just being me. So that's where FES is. I'm just going to do a very, very quick breakdown on how the FES is actually used itself, because I was asked this question on social media, and I did, as part of that video, I actually showed the machine and whatever else. Now, it is a small little box, and I do mean it is only small. It's not huge. You have 2 wires that go in. Those wires, one of them attaches to a foot switch, which is in the heel of my right shoe, my right trainer. And the other one attaches to 2, I'm going to call them probes, sensors, just like little sticky bits that go onto my leg. And they've got wires coming out. So you attach the wires to it. There's a red wire that goes into the bottom one, a black wire that goes into the top one. That's the part that sends the stimulation to your leg to get your leg to do what it's supposed to do. And that really is the basics of the machine. I'm going to be honest, it really is that simple. Little box. I clip the box onto me jeans, me pocket. Couple of wires that I tape to my leg, because I just might as well save having wires sort of flapping about in my jeans. And the foot switch. That's it. That is genuinely it. I can't explain any easier how it actually does its job, because that foot switch is what tells the machine that it's time to send the stimulation to your leg, to wake your foot up and say, oh, hang on, yep, we're walking here, stand up. And that's it. That is genuinely it. I could go into massive long conversations about other bits and pieces, about your nerves and whatever else, but honestly, at this point, I don't really need to. There is one of the sort of patches that goes onto your leg that actually, and I will say, it goes onto a part of your leg where a nerve sort of splits off and goes at different places. So you put this one patch just before the nerves start splitting off. I've kind of figured out already where they go. They were brilliant, as I say. The people at the Sheffield Teaching Hospital were absolutely fantastic. Made sure I knew exactly where they went. But that's it. That's how the machine works. It's not any more difficult than that. In terms of me myself, I've not been too bad. I'm going to be honest. I've not been too bad. I'm still hugely fatigued. I'm going to be honest. It doesn't matter what I do. I just want to go to sleep. In terms of pain, yeah, there's an awful lot. I'm going to be totally fair on that. There's no end of pain. But again, it's all stuff that's, I think, stemming from me overdoing things. And I know I've said a million times I've got to start understanding when I'm overdoing and stop. It's not easy. I'll be honest, it's not easy to get to that point, but I'm trying. I really am trying. I mean, just today, I went out in the garden and I had many, many seeds to plant. And, little bits of digging and all the rest of it. I planted all the seeds. I'm going to tell a funny story. I'm going to tell a funny story. While I was actually planting some of the seeds, I've got my music on. I'm sitting there, I'm rocking out, and something didn't feel right. So I felt like somebody was staring at me. So I thought, that's a bit strange. I'm out in the garden. I turned round and stood there. Stood there was my dad looking at me. He was only a couple of feet away from me, and I screamed. I absolutely screamed. I ended up, I was sat down anyway, but I ended up flat on my back, laughing. My dad, bless him, was absolutely wetting himself, and quite rightly so, because it was hilarious. I absolutely jumped out of my skin. I'm kind of worried about the people on the International Space Station, to be honest. They probably saw me fly past. I jumped that way. But yeah, it was absolutely superb, genuinely fantastic. And I promise I didn't swear at him. I promise. Honest. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, that happened. And to say I'll give that a flat 100 out of 10 for skills is yeah, definite. He got me good. Dad, quality. Absolute quality. But yeah, I mean, that's the sort of thing. I mean, today it knackered me out. I'll be honest with you, I was absolutely out of it. Once I'd sort of put all those seeds in all, there was over 3,000 seeds. And that probably isn't a lot, in all fairness. Loads of different plants. I'm not going to start naming them all because just not worth it. We'd be sat here for the next 3, 4, 5 hours with me trying to remember the names and things. Nope. Nobody wants to listen to me for that long. But yeah, very, very much a case of thoroughly enjoyed it. As we all know, I love me gardening. But yeah, I mean, I was completely out of it after. And again, that comes down to me overdoing things. I knew I'd done too much, but I didn't want to stop. I carried on. I kept going, and I finished the job. And now I'm suffering for it. I think I've finally come back down to earth after jumping out of my skin. I think. Don't quote me, but I think that's possible. But yeah, I mean, that's it. That's the sort of thing. Other than that, my week has been... It's been pretty good. I'm going to be honest, I've had quite a good week. On Sunday of last week, we did our first boot sale. Yeah. Other than that, it's really been quite a chilled week, which I've enjoyed. Well, I think I've probably kept you all long enough for today. What I will say is the listener numbers are creeping up quite a bit. So anyone that is new to this podcast, thank you very much for joining us. I do thoroughly enjoy talking to you. I really do. I try and be as fun as I can. But, you can't guarantee you're going to be fun all the time, can you? But I'll try. Right. Have a fantastic week. And I will speak to you all really soon. Bye-bye.